and welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you're able to join me on today's topic. And yes, today I'll be talking about mental health illness, depression. Seeing that I had once suffered from this illness. Depression is sadness. However, unlike the regular sadness that we feel from now and then, based on disappointments, things not going our way, and then we come out of it within a few days or weeks, this sadness persists for a longer time and generally comes like I'm coming in to stay. Okay, so the sadness coming like a guest that wants to stay permanently within you. I call this concretized sadness, sadness that you can touch with your internal senses of touch. You can touch it within yourself, that this is something solid here, something that has concretized. It's no longer fluid, it's no longer watery or gaseous, it is now solid. The three states of matter: you have gas, you have liquid, and you have solid. So when the matter is still fluid, that means it can flow away. Okay, it can flow away within a few. But when it's solidified, it means it wants to become a structure, a permanent structure within that self. So in 2018, I had this overwhelming feeling of sadness come over me. It was a gradual coming over, not just happened at once. It was a gradual thing. There were some pressures in the office, there were some pressures at the home front, and I really didn't quite understand where my life was going as an individual. And so all of these things were overwhelming to me. My career, I didn't see myself moving forward in my career. Even though I was working, I was earning reasonably, but I wasn't seeing myself going forward within that career and that organization. And there were several other things that were happening within the office environment, also within my own front, within the marriage. I began to, these thoughts will start coming into your head. You're not going nowhere. Your life is miserable. Maybe this is what is in your family. Maybe you're just cursed. Maybe all these wrong thoughts just kind of start coming into your head. And the interesting thing is that we have power over our thoughts. We are the creator of the thoughts. The thoughts, sometimes our thoughts flow towards us, but most times they originate within us. So we have power over that thought to allow it to stay or to let it keep on moving. Okay, so it's coming and flowing. Let it keep moving, not concretizing, not staying solid. So when this feeling persisted for me, I was seeking so many assistance, but I couldn't get it, especially in the office. I sought the assistance of the office for me to work from home. Perhaps that could help me manage the situation I was in at the time, but it wasn't forthcoming. And this feeling kept being overwhelming to me. It was becoming overwhelming. And I knew that if I didn't do something about it, this is my well-being we're talking about, if I didn't do anything about it, it may worsen. And so I went to the hospital and complained that this is how I'm feeling. And the general practitioner saw that and said, perhaps I should speak to a psychiatrist. So the name of the medical doctor who sees people with mental health issues is a psychiatrist. Now, I had to look at the difference. A psychologist is not a medical doctor, but also helps in dealing with mental health issues. But a psychiatrist is a medical doctor who has been trained in the medical field and has experience with dealing with mental health issues. So they understand how the human brain works. All these neural patterns, neural activities, how it works. So the medical doctor is able to utilize medication. They can prescribe medication for a condition, but a psychologist usually will just use talk. So psychiatrists will use medications, talk therapy, and any other treatment, but they work together. So the GP referred me to see a psychiatrist, and I was given an appointment and I went there. The psychiatrist was a lady, and so I got to see her and I spoke with her. So one of the ways they get to understand what's happening with you, and to be able to properly diagnose what is wrong with you, is they engage you in discussion. So she engaged me on several areas of discussion: my office, my career, my marriage, my husband, my family, my social activities, my plans, my beliefs, culture. There was a wide array of discussion points that she asked me questions about, just to have a glimpse into what was going on in my head and in my, in my system, in my psyche. So I understand that. So I of course, was a way to open up. And one of the things about depression and sadness generally is if you can get somebody to talk to, and even if it's not a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, somebody who can be trusted, a counselor who understands some of these things and maybe have gone through training. The process of talking in itself is depressurizing, is helping to bring out, any bottled pressure. Just like you open a can of Coca-Cola, you see that oozing. There's a pressure that is sealed inside. So when you open the can, it starts coming out. So it's the same way. When you speak up, when you start speaking about that problem, there's a little release, there's a little relief, albeit not completely solved, because there are certain things that are causing that state of mind. It's called the stressors. So the doctor will help you to identify those things and make suggestions, give you medications to help you overcome that challenge. And so she did all of this. And while she was asking me the question and I was responding, I cried all through the session. More than an hour of being there. I cried all through the session. I was pouring out my heart to her, and she was listening, she was taking notes, she was using one answer to be able to ask another question, and that flowed on for more than an hour. And at the end of the day, she encouraged me. They're like counselors, so she encouraged me about human existence generally. This is common to all humans. Whether we care to go to a psychiatrist or a counselor or not, this is common to all human beings. At some point we can fall into sadness that concretize because of certain things within the biological makeup, within the psychological makeup, or within our social environment. That's our environment where we are. The office environment, the home environment, the school environment. There are several other things that can contribute to somebody getting into that state. And so she encouraged me generally, and at the end of the encouragement she suggested things, asked me what I have interest, things I love to do, and to try to continue to do those things, because those are ways of lifting your mood. Music, I love the old school music, and I have a good playlist. So music has helped people out of this difficult situation. At the end of the discussion and encouragement that she gave to me, she made a note, and then she said to me that you're mildly depressed. That's the diagnosis. I was mildly depressed. So it was not a severe case. And she said it was good that I was able to quickly identify that something was not right and to seek for help. All right. And so she encouraged me to do things that I love to do, remove stressors, identify the stressors, those things are really making me sad, and try to, if you need a career change, she said many things. You need a career change, go for it. And I mentally took note of those things and began to implement them. One of the things that I did in 2019 was that I quit my job. It was one of the stressors. It was one of the stressors. Apart from the job in itself, the office environment, the commuting was killing. and it was really building up on my system, and I couldn't cope any longer. So I discussed with the people in my life, and I said I wasn't going to go forward with this work, and it was fine. And also in 2019, I clocked 40, the big 40, and I threw a big party. It's one of the highlights of 2019 for me. The quitting of my job, I made a trip outside of the country with the family, and those are good memories that I relish. I relive and relish now and then. I took some of those counsels from that medical doctor, the psychiatrist that I saw, and I was able to climb out. I'm a teacher as well as a learner for life. I learn. And so once she gave that diagnosis, I went online, checked this, checked that, resources. What are the personal development courses to do? In 2020, I enrolled for a course, and so I learned about many things about this situation and how to climb out of it. It's like a well, a hole. It's a noise. It has a kind of allure. It's luring you in. These thoughts are these bad thoughts. Oh, the life is maybe things are not working. The future doesn't look bright. It's looking bleak. What do you think your life is hurting? It's things are not working for you. I never at any point, maybe because it's clear it was a mild case, I never at any point considered suicide. It never crossed my mind, not once. But I know that I felt very, very sad. That was the crux of that problem. I felt very, very sad about all the things that's happening in my life at that time.